Okay. Now then, I posted part one probably. I had to refresh YouTube and reload it a couple times, but it said I posted part five 20 minutes ago, somewhere around there. Sorry about that. It is currently 1:10 in the morning, and I need to probably go show up to work in a couple hours. Not a couple hours. Probably half a day. It's gonna be fun. I do not like dealing with rude old people because at my workplace, apparently, if they think you're being rude and they tell your boss, if you are not being rude, you can still get fired for that. And I got a strike today because I asked someone if they wanted me to move something for them because they were trying their granddaughter was looking at something. So I asked them if they would like me to move a cart in front of them, and they thought I was asking them if they could move their cart. And she said, "Oh, that's not the way you talk to a customer." I don't care. You're lucky. Well, not that. I'm not trying to be rude, but she thought I was being rude, and she told somebody that I was rude, and I don't understand that because I got pulled aside and told, "Oh, what happened?" Whenever I explained what happened, apparently I need to speak louder for old people going deaf. It's bad because I almost called her a boomer. But knowing old people that would set them off, that's fun. Anyway, back from the void and existential crisis. This is going to be part six to what if Deku had bone manipulation. Sorry about that. I have had that in my system for probably a couple hours. But yeah, after this part, I am going to be going to bed, and I will try and upload the rest of this what if tomorrow, if not sometime around this time the next day. Yeah. Anyway, when we last left off, Deku just discovered that he can create poles out of his feet, basically stilts, and he could move around like that. But it is harder, so he has to do some balance training with them, and he gets used to them. But that's not all. He is able to go around to 95 to 97% of his power. And he looks more lean. Like I said, these bones are all laying down. The ones on his arms that were already there as part of his quirk, they have actually gone down quite a bit. And what I mean by that is they're laying down closer to his skin. He can still shoot them as spikes. And this happens. Actually, hang on for 1 minute. Okay. So, aside from that, I tried looking at something and it was. I'll just have to come up with it off my head. So, cut to the sports festival. It's starting. Deku is the class representative. Crap. I made a really good speech last time. Um, I think it was. I think I would say this. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Most of you probably remember me from. Oh, no, wait. Crap. Before that, it is. Fudge. Okay, backtrack a bit. Backtrack a bit. Deku would be in Class 1A. Bakugo would be cocky, saying how he's gonna win and be the best at the sports festival. But Deku would stand up and start yelling at Bakugo how, oh, you're not gonna win because I'm gonna be the best and I'm gonna destroy all of you. And essentially everyone starts kind of riling up a bit and talking around and saying how they're each gonna win. So Deku would say that he's Deku would basically, in the simplest words, declares war on everyone in Class 1A. He says that he will win. The best chance anyone has of winning is either going to be him or Jiro because of the training they did. And for a second, everyone goes from all serious to teasing Deku and Jiro for being a power couple. So they'd be teasing them and doing all this. And they would happen. So now then, there is one thing Deku has been thinking about doing. Well, essentially, Deku. Let's cut back to the sports festival speech. I'm not gonna ruin the surprise yet. Deku, he is doing the speech about how for many years there have been many quirks, and throughout those quirks, some have been deemed villainous, some have been deemed heroic. Like how during the UA attack or USJ attack, there was a villain who can turn things to dust and destroy things, and how he uses his quirk to be evil. But he could easily use his quirk to help solve pollution and destroy waste, like turn an entire trash dump into a small landfill where the dust can be used to do something else, like recycle everything. And how that he just became a villain instead of trying to do good. He talks about how yes, his quirk revolves around essentially fighting people in combat and through shooting projectiles, but it also would used to harm his body. Well, it also harms his body, and everyone would just kind of be surprised because Deku just threw out a bunch of philosophy, and everyone doesn't really know how to respond to this. So people just start cheering, be a hero, be a hero. Now then, let's start the race. Deku would start the race. Todoroki would do his ice blast, but Deku would have powered up to 97%, basically a leaner version of this, and start punching through the ice and getting free. And Jiro would actually be one of the first people to get free, besides Deku, because she would use her quirk in her feet and blast it away. And she would start flying with the sound waves by using her hands and her feet, like kind of like how Iron Man would move. but she's somewhat moving. She's moving faster than Bakugo. And Deku, he's running and he's doing all this and he's going at 95%. So he's doing all that and he eventually he gets somewhere. Well, he sees the 0 pointer, so he decides to try and power up to 100%. He does that for a minute and he destroys the 0 pointers by taking out their heads and shooting spikes into their glowing dots in their chest. And when Deku did this, he was able to do this in less than a minute from each other. He was able to then land and start running again. He would also be able to jump over the landmines and get through the one pit area of the obstacle course. And he would. Jiro would come in first, and she was the fastest with the way she's able to use her quirk and power up One for All with it to around 25%. Because that's the maximum she can do without straining. Well, it does put some muscle strain on her muscles, but that's basically like how if you were to work out and feel sore the next day. That's how her body would feel after doing that. So, Deku would come second. Deku would be on Jiro's team. Ochako would be on their team, and Mei would be on their team also. And Ochako would be the rider since she can zero gravity herself, and how they can all basically kind of fly. Descartes Mei says that Deku can't fly, so Deku would create these giant stilts and they'd all start hovering. And eventually, Deku, he just kind of gets everyone on his back. Ochako makes them lighter because he's actually able to move these spikes around. So he redirects the spikes in his arms like that and on his back into his feet to give them more, basically to make them taller. And Deku would be walking around the stadium area doing all this. And President Mike would try and comment on how Deku's quirk is different from what they've ever seen before. Aizawa would reassure him that his quirk is special and the fact that he has tried turning it off he's tried to erase Deku's quirk, but Deku's quirk is there's two pieces to Deku's quirk. It's an emitter quirk and a mutation. I President Mike would kind of be surprised by this because that would mean Deku can't have his quirk erased or turned off. So Deku would be walking around the area. He'd actually knock out the French guy who's got the naval laser, and he would take out. Hmm, let's say. Hmm, no, no, that's fine. That's fine. But he would take out the naval laser guy, and that would happen. So they'd all progress on. Deku and the tail guy would have a fight because Sarah would actually. Hmm, Jiro would replace. Jiro would replace the Kaminari, and tail guy would replace. Huh. The tail guy would replace Sidshow's spot with someone else's. But hmm, I can't really think about that. Let me get the. No, I can just do this. Anyway, Jiro would be the matchups go like this. Deku would be against the tail guy first. They both know a form of martial arts and are a master in it. So everyone would be watching as Deku would turn his quirk off. And he's always had his quirk on, so everyone's surprised to see all these spikes just go away. Because he essentially reverts down to here. And President Mike asked if this is how Deku's quirk works. And he would say no. He would then begin to pull out two bow staffs, which are seemingly the bones in his left arm. And everyone would be kind of creeped out at by this, but intrigued because Deku doesn't feel any pain from doing this. In fact, he's creating them out of. He's pulling them out of that area, but that's because if he were to pull them out of his chest, it would look like he got impaled, and that would be worse. So he would pull out a bow staff and throw it over to the tail guy, saying that if he is a master at one form of combat, and he is a, and the tail guy is a master at another one. So this is going to be a mastery of skill, and he would extend the bow staff out to the tail guy, and he would accept this because he would respect Deku. These two would actually look at each other as equals because they didn't. Their quirks didn't stop them from learning how to actually use combat training or learn a form of fighting or a fighting style. So they would actually be fighting and going at it, and Deku would, I want to say, break his knee or dislocate his knee, but that would be weird and kind of violent. But Deku would eventually overpower the tail guy with his combat, because he's actually done more combat training. He would overpower the tail guy and take him out. And Sunsho would brainwash that one girl and get her to walk out of the ring. Out. Walk out of the ring. Then Jiro would use One for All and Truck Work and eventually get Ida out of the ring. Now then, Deku versus Todoroki. What I did last time, I forgot to add something and I was mad at myself. So I am not going to make that mistake again. I am also bringing the surprise into this part. So now, Deku versus Todoroki goes as it would normally in canon for a minute, but Deku isn't breaking his fingers. He essentially hardens his claws up to like that and would begin to punch through Todoroki's ice over and over and over again. Todoroki would be mad at this, but realize that after a while, he needs to use his fire again. So he'd start blasting Deku with fire and trying to blast him with ice at the same time. Deku would be around 97 to 98%, going on the verge of 99. And as Deku's getting powering up more and more, his body is becoming. The spikes are seemingly pouring into his skin more. And his body is starting to turn porcelain again, all over it. And Deku keeps powering up more and more and more. He tells Todoroki to hit him with everything he's got. and did not hold back, or he will lose. Todoroki would do this, and he hits Deku with the biggest blast of fire, bigger than what Endeavor would be able to do, or somewhat around Endeavor level fire. He would blast Deku with it, and Deku would sweep his hands up as hard as he can and throw the fire into the air. Now, this is essentially creating a tornado in the ring. The ring is seemingly engulfed in fire. And after that happens, he would blast ice as hard as he can, the opposite direction of fire. Basically, that would turn everything to absolute zero in a split second, creating an explosion that would destroy the ring. And now, whenever Todoroki he would be through a wall. He would just be done. Half of his body is covered in second to third degree burns. Close to there, they're not going to be permanent, and the other half is covered in frostbite. Now then, they're trying to find Deku because they think that this may have actually hurt or seriously destroyed Deku. And his mom is in the stands, actually concerned, and Rosa is trying to calm her down because she wanted to see Deku firsthand at the sports festival. So she actually went. And whenever Deku is found, he is. Whenever the fire and the smoke disperses, everyone sees in the pile that was the ring stands Deku. He gets out off the ground and he stands up like this. Except for one thing. It's his body is completely white and he actually has something covering the area around his ears and the back of his neck with his hair. And everyone is looking at Deku because they've never seen this. And people are asking Jiro if Deku has ever done that before, and she's just saying no. That is new. He must have finally like broken his quirk like he wanted to. And people are asking what does she mean by that? She would explain that Deku over there too much of training, 2 weeks, not months. He asked her to come repeatedly blast him with sound as hard as she can, basically strengthening her own quirk and helping her use her secondary quirk and strengthening his quirk at the same time. Ida would actually be somewhat afraid of Deku because not only did he find a way to power himself up, he seemingly found a way to have a training partner. He essentially found a way to have a training partner, power himself up, get that person stronger, and in turn get himself stronger. So Ida sees Deku as somewhat arrogant. But after that, they Deku would begin to look around and he would see Todoroki because this part would actually somewhat cover his eyes a little bit, just like a thin layer. You could see out of it, but he's looking around and then he looks down at his hands and he sees them. He's confused, so he tries to create claws, and he can, and he tries to turn off his power, but he can't for a second. So he would calm down and turn it off. And they would actually need to take an intermission to repair the ring. So everyone in Class 1A would actually run up to Deku and ask what's going on and how his quirk got that powerful. Deku would explain that he must have finally done what he thought he could do. He finally, his body adapted to his quirk again. And people would remember his explanation about how his body adapted whenever he was in the womb before he was born. And they would see Deku as kind of a madman for that. Because he didn't know if he could do it. And he was essentially betting his life on it. And he won. He basically laughed in the face of failure. And that's what frightens people. Because Deku did not know. He took a gamble and he won. Big time. Oh, crap. I already went. Crap, I went farther than I thought I would with this. I was trying to go for 23 or 25 because that's what the last part was. Alright. I'll be covering the second half of the sports festival, the rest of it, and the internships in the next part. This is going to be Minuki signing off.